Hi guys. So today I would like to talk about something that will resonate to many people who travels a lot or who in the process of traveling, or people who has created a home after traveling so far to other people's lands. I'm talking about homesickness. This is what is homesickness, right? So basically, people understand homesickness as a feeling you get when you start to feel like you miss home. And of course, there is a different discussion altogether what home really means. It's been a while now since I come here, and whether I miss home or not is another topic altogether, right? Because there are so many facets of home to discuss and talk about. So there are two things that happens when dealing with traveling, with extracting yourself from the place where you start to the place where you settled. And the thing is, I am only talking in linear terms. I'm not even talking about people who have had different complex journeys in life. You know, their parents have different heritage, backgrounds. They themselves, because of circumstances such as war or economic stagnation, things like that. I haven't even touched upon that. I'm just talking about linear A to B. And even that, it has a lot of implication that comes with it. So two things happen at the same time. The first one being when you travel from A to B, there is a movement. So basically, how do you move on in a new place? So when you come to a new place, there is culture shock, right? I'm sure everyone is familiar with the term culture shock. And culture is not just about, where I come from, I eat rice and belacan, and the weather is sunny all day long. And then over here, I eat bread and cheese, and there is this thing called seasons that actually behave, feels, look, smell like seasons. You know, I mean, for me, like monsoon season, wet, dry, that's like negligible in comparison to summer, autumn, winter, spring. So these are very distinct seasons. So I'm not just talking about that kind of culture. There are also things about values, like Asian values. I mean, I know Asia is very huge, but the thing is, we sort of have a common understanding of what it means to, say, have a duty towards your parents, being loyal to your family members, etc., etc. We have different ideas than, say, what people in Switzerland have in terms of how they show loyalty to its parents. You know what it means to operate as a family unit. It varies from country to country. It varies from culture to culture. It varies even to families. You know, and when these two cultures collide, how do you move on, right? So this first phenomenon, how you move on. So whatever that you have learned from the previous life, or whatever you want to call it, the values, the set of skills you learn, these become tools from when you are navigating this unfamiliar place in this new land. And for some reason, I do my best to make this experience as an extension of myself, as how I see it as an opportunity for me to really hone my skills that has already that have already existed beforehand when I was in Singapore. Why I say moving on, it's because life is as it is, you know, it is complicated, but at the same time, life also has this factor called the time factor. You know the cliche, they say time waits for no one. It cannot be any truer than this. That's one of the scariest cliche for me. Time does not care for anybody. they say time heals, but time also leaves as well for me. And yeah, I feel that this experience should be the thing with people such as me. I'm not saying that this applies to everybody who decided to extract themselves and move on to another place. I can only speak for myself. I feel that whatever skills I learned, whatever experience I gained, it's very hard to get credibility and to gain recognition in another person's culture because standards are different. And yes, there are skills in navigating an unfamiliar place. At the same time, sometimes it is not the right tools because it's a different ballgame altogether. So, how do I move on then? It has been a very frustrating journey as it is very enriching. But of course, I cannot ignore the times when it has been like two steps forward, one step back. When life is a space that is chronological and linear in terms of time, and time waits for no one. How do you deal with that? It's not as easy as playing a video game where you can just press the reset button when your character dies in the middle of war, or when you decide to reload a game where you made a mistake. For some reason people do that, I don't know. So yeah, I do my best. I know many people also do their best, and when things don't work, start to feel homesick because we know how to get assistance. We know how to deal and manage with difficulties that we are familiar with, and we have the resources at our fingertips, or at least we know people who are able to assist. What about here when there is also language barriers, and it's not very easy to get the nuances straight away? So the second also thing happens, which is going to contradict what I just said earlier. I feel like when one extract one's life and goes to another, it feels like I'm restarting over because of this unfamiliarity, because a different environment uh, demands a different set of rules because it's a different game altogether. So how do I deal with this contradiction? So when it feels like starting over, there are many possibilities of how to react to this. One is, hooray, I can start afresh. I can become some other person that I want to become. At the same time, I also feel tired and I don't look forward to it sometimes. And it takes a lot of me to restart again every single day. And waking up to an environment where I am very grateful, that is for sure. But it's really different, you see. I mean, when you have to relearn and you have to unlearn and relearn values and culture just so that you are able to survive. It's, I don't know. I want to get beyond surviving, I do want to thrive and be in harmony with this new environment that I am in. And although it has been almost what, 1.5 to 2 years that I'm here, it doesn't mean that I am already chummy with the environment. I mean, 2.5 or more decades in another country, and then right now, not even 2 years. You can't expect someone to just switch 180 degrees and just change into a new person overnight. And that's when homesickness also kicks in, because you don't have to think too much. And I think one of the advantages of say this feeling of homesickness is you tend to see life in a different perspective, and you learn not to take things for granted. You think you don't take things for granted, and then you realize that this intense pain, you feel it even more. And um I don't know. I mean, I'm just talking in abstract right now. I mean, with technology, it helps um, to catch up with your old friends, family members. You know, sometimes a word from your previous life. Why do I keep saying previous life? A word, a sentence, a smell, a taste can trigger something so strong. You know, this emotion that just opens up a flood of memories that is both a familiar vision and at the same time something that is very far in the past. So that's the problem with homesickness. I feel that we tend to put on a more nostalgic pair of lens when it comes to looking at the past. You know, of course, when you look forward in the future, it's all dreamy, and then when you already deal with the present, the future becomes the present now. It is not as easy as it looks. I mean, I don't expect it to be easy, of course, but I did not expect it to be like I'm fighting for my life. uh, yeah, I mean, every day is a challenge. I made friends with some people. I'm glad that there are some people who are nice in Switzerland, but Swiss people are nice, but not all of them will open up to you as easily as your own friends, of course. I mean, they already have their own group of friends, and they already have their own swing of things, their own groove, and for you to just slide in when you speak a little bit different from the rest, when you look different, when you style different, when you walk differently, you know, it's just it's not easy uh, being in a country where and they take pride in political openness, but in terms of culture, they have a more homogeneous perspective to that. I mean, maybe some of them would deny this, but from coming from somewhere that is so diverse, it's very hard to reconcile that people like to do things a certain way, you know, instead of many ways. Yeah, but I have to deal with that, you know. Do I go against the current and fight my way, or do I go with the flow and swallow my pride? Because back then I know I mean when you are in your familiar spot and you know your resources, you know your system, you know your way through, you can fight through it and you can get it your way and you can be at least more satisfied. But when you are here and people are not open to feedbacks and uh, confrontations, maybe to them I'm aggressive, but I feel that I'm just being vocal and outspoken. Nostalgia. Yeah, homesickness brings about nostalgia, and a good friend of mine, she's from Australia. She says this. She pointed out something that resonates very strongly to me. Like when she say when she goes home and she doesn't feel like the home is the same anymore, and then when she comes back to Switzerland, she still feels that she doesn't belong. And that's what I feel right now because it's hard to feel belong. Uh, I mean, communication and relationship, it's a two-way street. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying that it needs more time and it needs more work. However, expectations shouldn't be unrealistic. You can't expect someone to be already like naturalized, assimilated. People just throw around big words: integration, assimilation, naturalization, as if like it's so easy. It's an ideal that people don't realize it takes a lot of work on both parts, because first you need to put your prejudices to one side. So both parties must put down their prejudices. Both parties have to manage their anxieties. Some people even paranoia. I'm glad people here that around me, they don't have such fear when dealing with, say, foreigners. But of course, there are many people here, the locals, that are also not really keen on people like me. And then when I return, say, to Singapore, because Singapore is a very fast-paced country, and when I say fast-paced, it means that a shopping center can be done quickly within, say, I don't know, 1 to 2 years. And when I come back the next year or so, some landscapes are different. So the idea of what it means to be a Singaporean, this identity, it's very slippery. It's very difficult for people to hold firmly on landscapes in Singapore when you talk about identity. So when you go back and you return home, you have to uh, have a grip in terms of who you are, with regards to your families, your friends, your communities, not places. Although places for me bring so many emotions. Like when I realized the playground that I used to play when I was in primary school with my friends and classmates, it was gone. It's just an empty field. It is, one, very eerie, and number two, very sad, because it feels like people just disregard memories. People disregard sentiments. Some people say like, oh, it's no good to be sentimental about a place, but as much as you want to avoid it, you tend to get sentimental, right? So people are gone because life is unpredictable. So I look to monuments, I look to landmarks, I look to landscapes. And when that is also gone, I feel like this is not the same place I know before I leave this place. And at the same time, people also change. People get married, people get new partners, people have new responsibilities, people change their attitudes toward an opinion. Yeah, people's styles get different. Like I realized that my friendships with certain people also change because they change. And I mean, some say I will be your friend forever. Oh, I'll be there for you. You can always like reach me, blah blah blah. As much as I'm sure they mean well, it's hard for them to deliver. So yeah, I mean, can I understand? Yeah, at one aspect. I mean, I do my best to take time for people because I don't have the similar friends like I have back home, because people here are different. That's it. Nothing wrong with that in that aspect. But yeah, so when people also change, and then they look at me and then they see that I have changed for some reason. I don't think I changed too much. I'm still skinny and I'm still vocal. I'm still who I am, but they notice changes in me or whatever. Okay, fine. That's their point of view. Yeah, and people would say, "Are you Singaporean enough?" Okay, maybe they don't say that. Maybe they say, "Oh, now you're so Swiss now," But of course not. Of course not. And then when you come back to your new place, your new home, and then you still get that feeling that you're not, say, Swiss enough, because it's hard to reconcile. It's hard to reconcile your two different identities, your past and your present, your two different countries. I mean, What about the space in between? Are you an in-betweener? Are you in between one culture and the other culture? I refuse to believe that I'm in between, but I embody both. But people don't see that. Sometimes people refuse to see you as a complex person, that you are a person with history, with personalities, with social backgrounds, with different experiences and skills, but they just want to see you one way, right? Because it's easy. It's very easy to identify. So homesickness is also a feeling I get when I actually know who I am before. Homesickness is the feeling where I miss being sure of myself instead of waking up always being uncertain. I guess for me, it's baby steps. I give myself baby steps. I know my expectations. It's just annoying when other people say, like, hey, you're already here. Like, how many years, how many months? Why aren't you this? Why aren't you that? I wish I can just say to them, just fuck off and let me grow how I need to grow on my own pace. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but no, I don't really want to answer to people anymore. I don't need to prove to other people because at the end of the day it is myself that I have to do benchmark. And of course, people will ask, yeah, if it's so difficult for you overseas, why do you do it in the first place? Why not just go back to an environment where you are more familiar with? And that made me think and rethink my choices. And I think it's good when you have moments of reflection about the things that you do every day and the choices, the decisions you make every single moment. Um, and I think that for whatever reason that the person decides to move from one country to another, for me, I can't speak for the rest again. For me, I choose this because I want to move on and to start over. Two contradictory things that actually happens at the same time, and it happens every day. Um, and also because I'm the kind of person who likes to push myself. As much as I love being in the comforts of familiarity, I also like to find out how far I can push myself. I guess this is the disadvantage of being a curious person because I have enough common sense to know what works and what does not. But at the same time, when there's this uncertainty, it gives me a feeling. I don't know. I don't want to say illusion, I guess, but it presents itself to me as a window of opportunity to see whether I am able to grow or not. And despite the difficulties, the challenges, the ups and downs, and up again, I do feel myself growing into someone different. Whether I like this new person or not is another thing altogether because, like, I do my own thing, right? Like, the only person that has high expectation of me is myself. And right now, there are people who actually love and care about me. And so these people, they actually have expectations of me, although they do support me. However, it's a very strange feeling when people don't understand you and they have expectations of you, they have preconceived notions of you. You try your best to prove to them that they are wrong, but at the same time, sometimes you just cannot be bothered because some people are stuck in their ways. Some people are stuck in their point of views. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, informed or otherwise. So this journey is not about pleasing others, but it's more of growing into someone stronger than you thought you originally are not. I mean, my reasons for coming here is really more personal than the country itself. I had thought that it didn't matter the geography, but actually it does. It is different because people do not understand the difficulties that you had to go through to fight your way through to come here. And I think many people think that I have it easy. Maybe I am fortunate, but it is not the whole picture. For me, the uncertainty is still there. It excites me, it scares me, both at the same time. And I would like to think that I am prepared to face these kind of hurdles head on. But of course, there are days where I feel like crumbling and just wishing I can just go to a corner and nobody disturb me. I mean, it's standard, right? A Malay always find a corner because corners are very comforting for us. I guess that's where I also manage my supposed homesickness, or when I'm confronted with situations that are very alien to me, that are not working out for me. I just retreat to a corner and just take a breather. And I think that's just a Malay thing. Like other people would think that corners are no good, that's why the term, oh, this person is cornered and this person has nowhere to go, it's trapped. No, no, no. For me, corners are very empowering because you are at an intersection and you can see the wall, not only at one side, but in a more uh, surround, in a more radiating perspective, like in a more widescreen kind of way. I don't know. Do I make sense? I don't know. For all the Malays out there, I think you know what I mean.